Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Monday, November 7th, 2022. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Now, as a show I just came across this morning, and I'm kind of anxious to listen to it. I'm going to point it out to you guys. I'm going to open up the charts right here. This interview by Martin Armstrong. Now, I haven't seen the interview yet, and I'm going to watch it with you guys. But he says it's not looking good, Martin says. And he actually quite literally says there may not be a 2024 election if things continue moving in this dire direction. And I'm kind of excited about watching this interview. And I looked over some of the talking points here for the interview. And he says right here, he says we may not even have an election in 2024. He says it's not looking very good. And he said that the elections might not even be accepted because there's so much corruption within the system, he says here. He says our computer, he says, is showing it's going to be a rocket launch for volatility and civil unrest next year. And this is one of the key things, if civil unrest gets out of control, and I mean really out of control over widespread areas, you can't even get to the polling station. Gas stations would be closed. Power would be out. I mean, the people can quite literally, we haven't seen this extent of civil unrest, but when conditions are right, they can cause such a crisis that everything comes to a stop. You have to have a working society in order to have elections. So yeah, he's right. If civil unrest gets too bad, I mean, basically it can shut down an entire country. Where else is he talking about here? He says the whole monetary system, as we know it, is collapsing. He says that's what the bond crisis in the United Kingdom was all about. So next year, a rocket launch for volatility and civil unrest next year. So I can't wait to watch this interview with Martin Armstrong. Next thing I want to talk about is the silver price today. You know what? You remember it was just a couple months ago and we were down around the $18, $18.75, whatever. Well, now we're well above 20 again, $20.75. So silver's looking good. It's going up right at this minute, even though it's down 10 cents on the day. So $20.75 for silver. Let's take a look at gold today. Gold is at $16.77. It's down $5 on the day so far. It's like this, and I think he mentioned it there, or Martin Armstrong mentioned it. It's like this. If you were to have some sort of a massive civil unrest and to the point where you can't even have elections, then what happens is a country will devolve and then it can reemerge again with a stronger sense of what's a word I could use for it, all the way through history, this has happened before in the past. We haven't learned from our past, and that's why we repeat the same mistakes, and history seems to repeat itself over and over again, We got major problems within the monetary system. Going back to 1914 when they really got established by the Fed. And these problems can't really be fixed or resolved. And this is why the Fed's in a trap right now. And ultimately, these problems are on an exponential curve. And it leads toward collapse. And that's what they're trying to stave off right now with all of this fighting inflation. The opposite side of that coin of fighting inflation is to move toward deflation. And when the deflation comes, then they're going to have to go. They're just trapped. Let's take a look now at cryptocurrencies and see what they're doing. 1027 for the industry. So it's over $1 trillion. and we're looking at 20,726 for Bitcoin. Ethereum today at 1579. Now let's get in there and take a look at the market. It looks like 95 points to the upside. Refresh the page, 67 points to the upside at 32,495. Let's see what crude oil is doing today. Crude oil is $91.93. It's down 68 cents on the day. Still, it's over $90. You know, I'm going to tell you guys what. We're not going to be able to move out of the use of oil quick enough to compensate for the loss of an awful lot of oil production. And if the economy continues to use oil in the way it's using oil, the oil price is going to tend to creep up, and $100 would be only the first target. The second target would be $200 a barrel, and this is all part of the inflationary cycle. The cost of everything else goes up, and so the cost for oil producers goes up. I mean, have you guys been to the hardware store lately? Don't you think for 1 minute if the oil producers out there are going to run their oil places and stuff, and they don't have to buy things like nuts and bolts and you name it, pumps and all the same gear to put together their well operations as anybody else out there. They have to pay the same price, that extremely high price for things like everything, nuts, bolts, everything, sprockets, you name it. And so they have to pass that price on to the consumer, and the price per barrel. And so eventually, you know, I mean, also it's harder and harder to get oil. You have to go deeper and deeper. Let's move on and take a look at the MOVE index today. 128. So we've seen a fairly good substantial drop in the MOVE index, enough where we're right on the line right now. If it moves any lower at all, we're going to drop below this trend line. It's right on the bottom right here, but it's been there a couple times before. Right here, around June 3rd, it was right on the bottom of the trend line at 97. And then it dropped to the bottom of the trend line again in August to 106. And now it's right down on the bottom of that trend line again. Here at November 4th at 128. So we're seeing it bottom out on that trend line. Now that means when you bottom out on that trend line, it means it has to stay on this trend line, it has to go up now, this MOVE index. Okay, bonds and rates today. We're looking at rising yields. Now what really surprises me here is how we can maintain such high yields on treasuries and basically that things seem to be fairly stable out there. Now this is surprising to me. I thought when yields got up this high, I thought something was going to break. And the fact that we're sitting here and nothing's really breaking yet is kind of surprising. I suppose it would be like a guy, you know, and he's got a house, and him and his wife, he got this house, you know, he's got this kitchen, and he gets obsessed with water pressure. You know, because for years he had like low water pressure, say 20 psi in his kitchen sink, and his wife was like, I can't get any pressure to wash the crud off of these dishes and stuff. And he said, I'll fix that. So he went out, you know, and he hooked up a whole new system, and he's so obsessed with it, he even put a pressure gauge on the countertop there where he could see what the water pressure is, you know. So he says, look, I got titanium carbon pipes and everything else, to his wife. You know, let's get some pressure going here. And he says, watch this. And he turns it on, and he gets it all the way up to 100 psi, you know, 100 pounds per square inch in the kitchen pipes. And she turns the faucet on. Oh, my goodness, she just cracks it. And it just shoots down and hits that dish and nearly breaks the plate in half, you know. He's like, look at it, hold that pressure, you know. So he says, watch. And he goes, and the next day, and he comes back, and he says, watch this. He says, I've got a new gizmo or whatever that'll make the pressure go even higher. And so he goes up to 150 psi, and look at that. Oh, he says, oh, glory, you know. So then he's going to say, now tomorrow I'm going to shoot for 200 psi. Well, you know what's going to happen, don't you? You already know what's going to happen. You guys know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. He's going to bust a pipe, and the water's going to shoot all over the kitchen. That's what the Fed's doing right here. I got higher and higher pressure on these treasuries. It's going higher and higher. Something's going to break. You just can't go up to, like, I don't know how high. I mean, they're planning on going 5%, whatever. That's what's next. We're at 4.16 today on the U.S. 10-year. What's next, 5%? It looks to me like they're on their way to normalizing rates. So far, we're getting away with it. The markets seem fairly stable. They're going to go for it until something breaks. Okay, so we're at 4.24 on the U.S. 30-year. Anyway, let's move on and take a look now at the U.S. dollar index at 110.39. And we've seen a little drop today in the dollar index. It's dropped down from, let's see, it was up around 111.19. It's dropped down to 110.39, you know. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, hit that little notification icon, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Have a great day, guys. Bye.